Awesome. Hi everyone.
Oh, hmm.
So 3 2 1. I'm going live 3 2 1 kar. When do you say zero? I'll go live. I'll start speaking.
Sir, you're live now.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, how are you? How are you guys? Welcome to the final session of the ATL drone module. I'm very excited to have you guys here, and the attendance is also pretty sweet. So it's also superb to see that. Um, so again, welcome to the session. Today we're going to speak about programming and drone programming. So we're not very sure how many of you are exposed to any sort of programming till now. So we're going to do two things. We're going to spend a little bit of time on what is programming, the logic, the algorithmic flow of it. And in the next step, we're going to speak more about drone programming. What is it that you require in programming the drones? What sort of levels of programming you have, be it the firmware, with the remote, or whole other things. And yeah, there's going to be a small little surprise for you at the end. With that, why don't I hand over the mic to our dear trainer, Keval sir? Keval sir, on to you.
Thank you so much. So hi guys, the final webinar of the drone module, the drone webinar that we are conducting. I hope you guys have learned a lot till now. In the previous video, I hope you remember that we completed how you could actually build your drone, and we covered a lot of aspects of that same topic. And with this, today we reach in the final step being the drone programming. So I am aware that a lot of you will be having this question that you have never done any programming, and maybe if you have done so, maybe you have done only a very basic type of programming, and what actually goes into a drone programming is something that you might not be knowing about. So as Apurva sir also said that first we'll try to understand what programming is, and then we will go on to understand drone programming. Okay. So let us quickly begin. As we all know, we first will try to revise the concepts so that we get that freshened up, and later on we can start with what the agenda for today is. So the first thing is the revision of concepts. I hope you remember this flowchart last time that we had done. So there are 10 steps to how to make your own drone. First, you collect all the parts, all the components that you require. Then in step two, you create a plan of action. You start working on each and every component. You have to test and do everything. Later on, in step three, you will assemble the frame. In the step four, that you will attach the motors on the frame. In the step five, you will be programming the flight controller. This is something that we'll be looking about at today. In step 6, we go ahead with attaching the flight controller on the frame, and later on we attach the propellers and propeller guard on the motors. Then in step 8, we are attaching the motors to the flight controller. In step 9, we are calibrating and trimming the drone, and in step 10, we are completing uh, with the flight test. So as we move ahead, let us learn about programming. So first question comes, what is programming? Now, in order to understand what programming is and why we require programming, you have to understand how computers basically work. And by computer, I am not just referring to your laptop or your PC. Computers could include your phones and even the flight controller that we have. Even this is a computer for us right now. So basically all these microprocessors, microcontrollers that or anything that requires programming that you have heard of, all those things are computer for us right now. So the thing is that these computers are very complex machines. Okay, they are machines. They are not human beings. When I'm talking to you, I can speak in some language, I can speak in some other language, and you will try to understand. Right? Even if you don't know the language that I'm speaking, at least you can guess from my facial gestures and my hand gestures that what I'm trying to communicate. Right? So somewhere this communication is possible because we are intelligent species, but computers are not that intelligent. So what we have to do is we have to tell them the tasks that we want them to perform. Okay. So for example, if you are online or right now on a phone, on a mobile phone, or on your laptop or on a computer, that entire thing, that entire component is designed to perform specific tasks. Now I know specific tasks makes you think that there are very small number of tasks, but it is not so. Even if I'm if I'm asking a computer to do 1 crore tasks, that is a big number of tasks, right? But still those are specific in nature. So I can ask you can ask on Google how to cook something, but you cannot ask Google to cook something for you, right? So computers are very specific, complex machines which perform tasks which are very specific to them, and we have to communicate with them in a specific manner. So given today's technology, you might be feeling that there are so many ways to communicate. We can talk to Google, we can talk to Siri. So why do we need to program, right? But all these are just something that a user can do. What happens in the backend is entirely different. Okay, so there is a lot of coding, a lot of programming that goes on in the back end of any computer or any object like a computer, as we discussed. And for that, you require to speak to that machine in the language that that machine will understand. So when we talk about programming are the languages, okay, that your computer will be able to understand. So if I'm simply talking to my computer to do this, to do that, it might not be able to understand all that. But if I program a small, if I write a small piece of code, my computer will be able to understand that code and it will follow that particular task. Okay. So because computers are not human beings or other animals, smart enough animals, we need to communicate in a specific way. And as per your communication, your computer is going to perform tasks. And this communication is done by using the programming languages. Okay, I hope you guys understand till now. So when we come to programming languages, there are several different programming languages. You might have heard of these four at least: C, C++, Python, and Java. You might have heard of this. I'm not expecting you to know all this, but you might have heard of these languages. Some of you might have programmed on in this language. And there are a lot more languages, obviously, doing different things. So what happens is you start with one language. You have computer engineers, software engineers who know multiple languages, and it is very common in today's world. So all these languages have certain benefits, and all these languages are used in certain areas. So for example, if you know about the Cygnus IDE that we provide for programming the Pluto drone, it is an API based programming using C++. So basically, for what that means is, if you want to program Pluto, you should be knowing a little bit about C++. I'm not saying that you must be an expert. I am also not a very big expert, but I can program using C++ in a Cygnus IDE. So what happens is, if you understand a particular language, you can use that language to talk to a computer. Okay, even this is a computer, as we discussed earlier. So if I want to communicate with this, if I want to change the programming of the Pluto drone, I will have to communicate in a particular programming language. And that programming language for us is C++. Okay, so all these different languages, they have different syntax and different formats. Now, don't get into a lot of it right now, but try to understand it as these languages have different structures. Okay, so the way we write, it changes. So that happens even when we speak in different languages. If I'm speaking in English and if I'm speaking in Hindi, and if you try to compare the same sentence in both these languages, structure changes, right? If I'm talking in Hindi, like मेरा नाम केवल है, but if I'm talking in English, I can say my name is Keval. So structure change हो रहा है, right? The structure is changing with the way I am writing and everything, but the punctuation marks and everything. But the main idea, the main logic remains same, that I am having a few words and I'm inserting my name and I am trying to communicate that this is my name. So in the same way, all these languages also have basically the same core, will be having same core logic. Okay, So programming languages are built around, you have to work around your logic. We will be looking at what that actually means. So for now, just understand that these different languages, they have different types of structures, but the main logic would more or less remain the same. Certain languages give you much more easier way to use to program. Certain languages make it a little complicated, but overall you have to you have to understand the logic in order to be able to program. So let us understand what logic is now, logic in programming. But before we understand logic in programming, we will have to understand what logic actually is in general, right? So I am going to post a question now. The question is, write the natural numbers smaller than 11. Okay, smaller than 11. So I want you all to think about, it is a very simple question. I hope you guys might have answered what you know about this. So the question is basically very easy. Write the natural numbers smaller than 11. What the answer I am assuming you must have written is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Natural numbers. So as soon as I wrote this, your mind worked that, okay, I am asking about natural numbers. So natural number starts from 1. It does not start from 0. So the natural number starts from 1 and I have to write the numbers which are smaller than 11. So I do not have to include 11. Smaller than 11. So I have to finish at 10. So what I will do is natural number starts from 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11? No, I will not write 11 because that becomes equal to 11, right? I want smaller than 11. So this is how your logic is working, right? Your brain has a certain logical part and that logical part gave you the answer. It is a very simple question. If I am converting this same question into a program, okay, into a C++ program, just see how it changes. The entire structure becomes this. This is the main question now. Okay, so it might look intimidating to some of you, but it is really easy if you understand. I'm not expecting you to know everything about C++ and everything and all this. Just an example so that you get an idea how programming is done. So again, just remember this example, the previous one, natural numbers smaller than 11. Over here, what we are doing is first, I am declaring a variable. Okay, I am declaring. What do you mean by declare? I am just saying it out loud that there is an integer, int, that you see int, that means integer. So I am declaring that in this program I have an integer whose name is k. Okay, then this equal to sign is giving a value. Okay, I am giving a value to this integer. The name of the integer is k. So the value that I have given is 0. So I am saying that I have declared an integer k whose value is 0. Okay, so in the beginning I am saying k equals to 0. Then I have a condition while k is less than 11. This is a condition. Okay, so how programming works is, if you are specifying a condition, if the condition is satisfied, then whatever you have written inside that condition, okay, this inside these brackets, whatever we have written, these things will be done. If the condition is not followed, what happens is these things are not done and the code runs away from this. Okay, so it will skip this entire part, these brackets, and whatever right now we have nothing, but if you have written anything below this much program, this much code, that thing will be done. Okay, so we are not interested in what is after this piece of code. We are just interested in this piece of code. So we have k equals to 0, right? And my condition is while k is less than 11. So what the program will do is it will continuously check. Okay, whenever it comes to this while, it will check what is the value of k. So let us begin to think of an answer. Okay, first k is equals to 0. So I'll ask you, while k is less than 11, is the k less than 11? Yes, it is, because k is 0 right now, right? So if it is satisfied, what happens is this small piece of code, cout, that piece of code is executed. What is cout? Cout simply means that you want to print something. Okay, this output, just imagine this out as output right now. So I am going to print the answer. The answer is whatever I have written in this quotations. So it is k, comma. If you notice, I have given a space. Okay, k, comma, space. But what is k? For k for us, k right now is 0, right? So it should be printing k plus plus. So if I add k plus plus, it becomes 1. K plus plus is like I am adding plus 1 to the value. So just for your sake, I will post the answer so that it becomes easier to understand. So in the beginning, what we are doing is we are printing 1. Okay. Then again it will check k is less than 11. Is the k less than 11? Yes, it is 1. So next time again it will go inside, and this time it will do plus plus, and our answer will be 2. So it will print 2. Next time again it will go inside the loop and it will print 3. Again it will print 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 till 10. Okay. Once it moves out, after it prints 10, what happens is when I do plus plus, its value becomes 11. Then it will again ask while k is less than 11. Is the k less than 11? No, it is equal to 11, right? So at that point, the code will not be executed. This bracket will not be executed, and the program will stop. So your output will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Exactly what we had printed in the earlier question. So this, I hope this gives you an answer. This is a very, very basic program. This is not something big. When you start learning programming, these are the kinds of programs that you will start with. Okay. So the aim over here is to make you understand what logic is. So just in the normal way that we communicate, there is something called as logic, and we used logic to answer this question. In the same way, we programmed something. We wrote a piece of code to get the same answer. So this is how logic works in real life, and logic works in programming. It is just a little bit of understanding about how to write. Okay. So in different programming languages, the way you write this program on the screen, that will change. So with different languages, this thing will change, but the output will remain same. So how you write, the structure and the conditions that you use, these things will change, but the core logic will remain same. Okay, you can use different types of logic to get the same output if possible. That is always fine. So I hope this gives you a little bit of idea of what programming is, what logic is, and we can now, I think, move ahead. Now we think about programming in drones. Okay. So let us first understand why we need to program. Throughout this webinar, we have learned a lot of things, like how frames are, how to make a frame, and how a motor works, how a propeller works, why there is a specific direction in which a propeller rotates. We have learned about a flight controller. We have learned about sensors on flight controllers, to be precise. We now understand why sensors are important. Okay, sensors will basically help to keep the drone stable. If there are no sensors, I cannot fly the drone stably. It will crash. So we have learned a lot of things, but there is one thing that combines a lot of such components together, and that is programming. So even in our drone, there are a lot of components, if you see, but which component will do what work, all these things have to be done using programming. Okay. So for example, if we are having an accelerometer sensor, I hope you remember the name accelerometer sensor. So if you are using accelerometer sensor, it is not that I took a sensor and I integrated it on the PCB and it becomes stable, it is starting working. No, it is not like that. What that sensor will do, how will it get power, and how are you going to use the data from the sensor, and what will you do with that data, all those things are included in the programming part. So what you will have to do is you will have to understand at what parts, at what stages in a flight controller you have to program for what all things. So currently, to make it quite simple, we will just understand about sensors. Okay. So whenever we put a sensor on the drone, we have to use programming to use the sensor data, okay, to get the sensor data, rather to get the sensor data and to use that data for making the drone stable. Okay, so if I have an accelerometer sensor, I will write coding, I will write a code and I will use that code to get the data, and then I will write another code that will use that data and convert it into the values that I want. Okay, that will be useful for me, and that is how we are going to make a drone stable. So this is just a sensor example, but there will be a lot of things, a lot of other things. So for example, motor, these motors are getting power, right? They are getting electricity. If you remember, we have learned about batteries. So batteries are not directly connected to the motors. Batteries are connected to your flight controller, and flight controller is connected to motor. So what happens is all these things combine together. Okay, so the drone will take data from sensor, drone will take data, and drone will consider, okay, how much electricity or how much power I have to give to each motor, and then the flight controller will send out signals and will decide that this motor should get X amount of power. This motor should get X plus 10 amount of power. So all this is done using programming. Okay, it can also be used to design in features. So for example, a good feature would be flipping the drone. So if I'm flying a drone and if I press a button and the drone flips, it performs a flip in the air. That is done using programming. So a lot of such features are integrated in a drone using programming. And for obviously for coding all such things on your own, you will require a lot of expertise. So first you will have to learn what programming is. You will have to learn a lot about drone programming, and then you reach a level where you can use that programming to make the drone flip. Okay, so for now, at least you can understand that whenever you fly a drone, and if that drone provides a flip option, and you just press a button and the drone flips, you should always understand that there is a big program that was executed as soon as you pressed the button, and that program made it possible for the drone to flip. All right, so it can be used to design such features. And obviously the third one is to perform different tasks using the drone. So you might have heard of, or you might have seen, or you might have at least thought of a drone which will run on autopilot sort of thing. So I will just switch it on and I will just take off, and the drone will take off. It will go to a place, it will pick up something, and then it will go to other place and it will drop that thing, and all this will be automated. You might have thought of such applications, right? So in order to perform those tasks, you will have to program the drone. Okay, so for example, if I want the drone to take off and go forward and then land, this is also a task, a very simple task, but it is also a task. So I will program the drone. I will ask the drone first to take off. So I will tell the drone, you have to take off. You have to come to this height. Then you have to go forward for a particular distance, and then you have to land. That's it. But the drone obviously is a computer, so it does not understand these voice commands. So what we have to do is we have to code the entire program, and it will simply follow those instructions. Okay, so you can perform such tasks and a lot many more tasks. The sky is the limit literally for this for drones. You can program any sort of task or application using a proper drone and proper programming, and you have to keep on trying, you have to keep on experimenting, and it is not necessary that you start coding and you are obviously going to code the correct program all the time. There are a lot of errors that happen. You have to look at what error was there and how can you rectify it, and you have to change that error into a working program, and then you again try it again, and again if some other error is there, you try to rectify that. So you keep on trying, and you keep on rectifying the errors, and then you create your final code, which will work very well. So I think that is how your drone programming life will be. So not just for drone, but it is for everything. Even if for a simple application that you want to make for a simple app, you have to keep on programming, you have to keep on learning what the errors are, and you have to keep on rectifying. So these are certain purposes that you will be programming. You will be using programming on drones. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Chuck to Arm. Okay, if you can see Chuck to Arm, this is the name of our project that you can do using Pluto. So normally, you know that when you want to take off, you keep the drone on the surface, you use your phone and you press the takeoff button and the drone will take off, right? Using this experiment, Chuck to Arm, we are changing that. What you will do is you will keep the drone in your hand, and if you want to take off, you will just toss the drone. Okay, it is not connected right now, so it will not take off. But what you will do is you can simply toss the drone up in the air and it will take off, it will start flying. But in order to do this, again, we require programming. So what you can see on the screen right now is the basic program that enables Chuck to Arm. Okay, don't get intimidated by what you can see on the screen. Let us just get an overview of how this is done. So if you remember while, okay, in that program, while k is less than 11, that was a condition, right? So over here also this if is a condition. Okay, so if whatever you write in the bracket, if that bracket condition is satisfied, then we will go inside the brackets. Okay, we will go inside this curly brackets and we will execute this. This is, I think, very easy to understand right now. Command.arm. So we are actually commanding the drone to arm. This is API based programming. It is something like you don't need to worry what happens at the backend. You just need to be happy with command.arm. Okay, how the drone is arming, that is something that you don't need to think a lot about right now. So we use command.arm, which means that we are arming the drone. Arming the drone essentially means that the motors will start spinning and the drone starts flying. So we command the arm, we command the drone to arm, and we use two LEDs, red and green LED dot set. That is another API. We are using red, we are keeping it on. We are using green and we are keeping it on. So essentially, if we forget about the if condition, okay, whatever is written in that bracket, leave it right now. If that condition is satisfied, what we will do is we will arm the drone. Okay, we will arm the drone and we will turn two LEDs on, red and green. That's it. So our project was that whenever we toss the drone in the air, we want the drone to be armed, and that is what we are doing with this. Okay, so just to give you a brief idea about what we have written in if condition in that bracket, we have written acceleration dot get net ACC. ACC is acceleration. So acceleration dot get net acceleration, and we are comparing it with 2, less than 2. Okay, so acceleration, this is just the data from accelerometer sensor. For now, just be happy with this. Okay, so we are taking the accelerometer data, so we are using a sensor data. Okay, and then I have written 2 and okay, that is just a condition. Okay. So first part and second part both need to be satisfied, only then the drone will arm. So first data we are using in the first condition we are using accelerometer data. In the second condition we are using flight status dot check. So we are using essentially flight status. Okay, so we are just checking that the drone is not crashed. I think you will be able to understand it quite easily. When I'm tossing the drone up in the air, I want it to arm. But what happens is, if I'm flying the drone already and it comes in contact with a wall and it crashes, so I don't want the drone to get armed after it crashes. Okay, so this second condition will check if the drone is crashed or not. If the drone is crashed, it will not arm. Okay, so that will help us only. So these are certain things that you need to think of when you are programming. Okay, I don't expect you all to become experts by just one example. This is just an example to help you think about how drone programming works. This is just a simple project. So In this project, we used accelerometer data. We checked if the drone is crashed or not. And if our conditions are satisfied, we are asking the drone to arm. All right. So it looks so simple when we talk about it, that whenever I toss the drone up in the air, it will arm. But when you have to program it, this is how it looks. So I hope you understand the transformation from your words into a program, into a specific program. Okay. So this is a very simple example. You can find a lot such projects in our project book. And later on, after this, we go to the part where you can learn drone programming, how to do that. So the first option is block programming. I don't know if you have heard of it or not. Block programming is a very easy drag and drop type of programming. Okay. So just to take you to the next slide, if you see on this, we have the screenshot of Pluto Blocks. Pluto Blocks is obviously the block programming language for software for Pluto. So using this software, you can create all these interesting projects by simply dragging the block and placing it wherever you want. All right. So it is a very easy type of programming language. Okay. You don't have to worry about syntax or a lot of it. You have to it will enable you to learn very basics of coding. So earlier where we saw if and while and where do we put conditions and everything, that gets a little trickier for a beginner. So for a beginner, this is very much suggested by us. You start with block programming. Okay, it will, first of all, it is very easy to program using it because it is simple blocks. You don't have to type anything. Secondly, you get to learn basics of logic. So you understand what you have to put under if condition and what you put under other conditions and how you command the drone to do something. So all these things will be covered by block programming, basic block programming. The third point, as it says on the screen as well, it is very simple to understand. Okay, because it requires no background in coding. Even if you are a very young student, you could start with this. Okay, you could experiment and you could learn how it is done, and that will help you understand what programming is. All right. So if you want to start with this, for drones in particular, there are two options: Pluto Blocks and Drone Blocks. So Pluto Blocks is by us. You can find this on our website as well, and if you want, we could send out the links in email also. The thing is, you start with something. You find a block programming software. You try to program it, and you try to learn how programming actually works. You don't need to worry about the language in this, C++ or Python or whatever it is. You don't need to worry about anything. You simply start programming. Okay. After you learn a good amount of programming from this, if you are happy with the basics, if you think that you have learned all the basics, you can level up to the next part, that is the integrated development environment, IDE. Okay, so what we talked about Cygnus, I told you about programming this Pluto in Cygnus. Okay, Cygnus is an IDE where you are using your programming languages. So as if you can see in examples, there are two examples: Cygnus IDE and NetBeans. So NetBeans uses Java. Cygnus IDE, that which is for Pluto, it uses C++. So once you are happy with block programming, once you think that you have reached a good level with block programming, you can start learning on Cygnus IDE or whatever IDE that you want. Okay, you can start using actual programming languages to learn, because block programming will have certain restrictions. So you cannot do everything with block programming, but you can do a lot more things when you actually start programming on using these languages. So what I would suggest is, if you want to actually take up drone programming, if you want to learn drone programming, or even if you want to just learn programming in general, what you can do is start with block programming, get your basics cleared, and then simultaneously you can start working on IDEs. Okay, you can use programming languages and you can start working with them. So once you have a good idea of what programming is, there is no harm in going with the next level. So with this, I would just like to sum it up. we from the first session itself we learned in basics we learned how what a drone is and what are different types of drones. We learned about stability, that drones are unstable, and we need to make them stable using sensors. We learned about sensors in the next session, and we learned how different sensors work, and how you can decide which sensor you want for your particular application. We learned then about propellers. Okay, we learned how propellers work. We learned how clockwise and counterclockwise propellers are there and why we require them. And we later on learned about batteries, and we learned about motors. Okay, so to pretty much sum it up, we have learned about all the components of the drones, and this should give you a fair idea of the fact that making a drone is not a child's play per se. A lot of thinking and a lot of hard work goes into it, but one can always start whenever they want. Okay, today is the best day, so you could start making a drone, but it is not going to be an easy journey. It is not that simple to make your own drone. One most important thing is flight controller. Please don't try to make a drone without a flight controller. No matter how hard you try, it is not going to work. Okay, so please, I mean, it is not to demotivate you that it cannot be done, but it is proven, and time and again people keep on trying to make a drone without a flight controller. It does not work. That is not how it works. Okay, so it is something like you want to run your mobile phone without your battery or without your the chip that you get inside it, running a laptop without the motherboard. It cannot happen. Okay, so don't try to take shortcuts and think that without flight controller you will be able to make a drone. It is not possible. So the suggestion would be to purchase a flight controller for this stage as per your requirement, because even making this entire flight controller takes a lot of time and a lot of expertise, right? So in order to just begin your journey, I would suggest you should purchase a flight controller that whatever you want. Okay, and on the top of that, we learned about programming. We learned how drone programming basically is done. It is not the entire drone programming, of course, but there are a lot more things that you can learn about drone programming. We just hope that this webinar gives you a push to start learning about drone programming. Once you start your journey, you will figure out a lot of challenges and a lot of tricks and a lot of knowledge to start programming on a good level. So I hope this entire webinar series has given you a good idea about how drone works and how you can make your own drone. And trust me, it is a very important field right now for you all also, because in coming future drones are going to be everywhere. And if you have a good knowledge at this age, at in schooling itself, it will give a lot of benefit to you when you are coming up in colleges and when you are getting into the labor force of the population. You will have a lot of benefit if you have a good knowledge about drones right now itself. So with this, I would like to end this session, and I would like to see if you guys have any questions. We have our entire team to solve them out, and I guess let us see about the questions.
All right. Shachi madam, do you want to take up some questions and share with Keval sir?
I will be taking up some questions. So we've got a lot of questions, but most of them are identical. So I will be asking around 3 or 4 questions for today. First question repeatedly asked is, can Java or HTML be used for programming a drone?
Prasanna sir, would you like to attempt that?
So let me quickly just break it down. So when we say drone programming, there are two aspects of it. Okay, programming the drone generally means that working with the hardware, as in flashing a piece of code on the microcontroller. But a lot of you, when you talk about programming, you just basically want to control the drone to change its position, to change its height. That's basically a drone controlling. So to basically summarize, what I'm trying to say is that drone control is different than drone program. And what is possible with Java, JavaScript, Python, and all of those languages is that you can actually control the drone. As in, if you have a drone, you can ask it to take off, go ahead, take left. So that's drone control. So that is possible using Java, JavaScript, or any of your programming languages. Now, when you say drone programming, you actually talk about the firmware, as in adding a sensor maybe, or maybe, you know, changing the code to make the performance better. Now that happens in C/C++. So that's the major distinction, and that's generally how embedded systems are. They are generally it's possible to program them in C/C++ rather than higher level languages.
Then there's another question repeatedly, that how do you test each component of a drone? So generally till now what we've understood is what are the different components required, but what is the testing procedure a lot of children are interested in knowing?
So there are various ways and there are many components. So each component has a different way of testing. So I think what we are going to do is, I think Apurva and we are planning a small session in the future, mostly in next 2 weeks or something, where we will try and.
All right. Okay.
So I think.
No. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. Okay. Let me just jump in. But that was actually going to be the surprise towards the end. I believe we had a few questions on that also. The surprise was that we are planning to hold another session on how to actually build a micro drone. So you've seen a nano drone which is this size, and the micro drone which is slightly bigger in size. So we are hoping to do that. And at that time, so again, that was the surprise, or that is the surprise. We have still not decided on the dates because of the corona. We are not able to procure the required components. But as soon as we are able to do that, we will sort of have this session. But again, sorry, Prasanna sir, I interrupted your answer. But why don't I hand over the mic again to you?
So yeah, I guess those questions become more relevant when we have that session, and I think that session we are also waiting eagerly that we can do it for you. And in that session, we'll explain how to test components, how to, you know, check the components, choose the right components. All of those questions will be addressed in that session. Shachi?
I think for today we have covered most of the questions because most of them were repeated and were in the same lines. Apurva sir, if you have any more announcement, we can go ahead.
No, I think that's about it. This was superb. The programming is something that's always fun, and it's going to be extremely useful for you in terms of any sort of robotics that you would ever work in your life with, not just drones, but rovers or anything else that you get a chance to experience and work with. So yeah, that was a session on drone programming, and so officially we have concluded the ATL drone sessions that we have till date, and I think Shachi madam will share the feedback that has come, the questions, that the emails that have come to them. So Shachi madam will share all of that with the Niti Aayog team, with all of us, with you guys. So officially that's the thing. But again, as I said, the surprise was that we will be conducting another session on how to build a bigger drone, and you know, what goes into building of it. So there are broadly two things that we are waiting for. Number one is a little more clarity on the legal aspects of the micro drone. The legal aspects are already clear, but we expect that there might be some small changes in that framework. So we're waiting to hear back from them, and we are also waiting because of the corona, some of the components that we use for micro drones we are not able to procure yet. So that's what we are sort of waiting for. Let me kind of just invite you, check out our YouTube page or Drone Aviation on YouTube. If you've subscribed there, or if you're following us on Facebook or Instagram or any other place, we will make an announcement there on the date at which we are going to have this session of building a micro drone, and hopefully all of you will be there, and hopefully all of you will have a good time in those sessions. With that, I believe we will conclude the 6th and the final session of the ATL drone module. Again, I had a fantastic time. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I hope you guys got to learn something. And I'm really hoping that I see a lot of you who not only join the drone industry but become drone entrepreneurs, drone pilots, and take India and the world ahead in the terms of drone technology. And that with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you everyone for joining. I had a good time. I hope you guys did too.
So on behalf of Drone Aviation, I thank all of y'all for being here, and thank you all the teachers and moderators who helped us in the session. Okay, so I'll keep connected on the mail. Bye bye.